So my husband wanted to end our marriage after 7 months, and I was forced to figure it out. I left, stayed with a friend, and that did not work out. 7 months is crazy.
Flying my white flag, my white flag, my love, where are you? My love, where are you? Whenever you're ready, whenever you're ready.
First of all, shout out to Risa because, baby, yeah. When I saw her story, I was like, girl, you got a story time that is so much like that. But I was like, no, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. But after further consideration, baby, here we are. So this is going to be the introduction to part one of who in the world did I marry? Now, I was married in 2019 and I was divorced by the end of 2020, the last day of the year to be exact. But let's rewind. We're going to call my ex-husband Alex. Alex and I met in 2012. Yep, 2012. Maybe 2000. No, it was 2012 when I was introduced to one of those multi-level marketing companies. Shout out to MLMs because, baby, they did good to me. But it was one of those companies, and he was one of the people that was friends with the guy that introduced me. Back then, it was nothing. It was, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Everybody connected on like Facebook and all the different social media platforms, and that was that. Over the years, he became like a distant supporter. He lived basically the same town. Like where I live, like 3 different towns can kind of run into each other. But he became like a distant supporter on social media. But then I also started to see like he would always comment on different photos, and like it was like he was like trying to gas me up. But I was not attracted to him. I was not interested in him. He like was a cornball to me, and I was just like, no. And this was over a time span of 7 years. Like there would be short social media conversations. I think he supported my businesses. I think he bought my book. And all of this is important because it shows you how somebody studies you. Now, I'm a social media influencer and have been influencing before it was actually influencing. So over the years, I've been sharing my story. I've been very public about my successes, my failures, things of that nature. So it wasn't a surprise. Some things wouldn't be a surprise for someone that has been following me so long to know. Also, something to know here, there's a 10 age gap. I am the younger party here. Alex is older than me. I've also shared a lot of love and relationship. I'm a love and relationship certified life coach, and I shared a lot of like things that I desired on social media, even way back then. Like now, if you've been following me, you know my content is like a little bit more geared to single women. Back then, it was just like my personal page. I was just sharing my own personal thoughts and things like that. But he was following me and he was keeping up. I should have known when he actually ordered my book that was a red flag. Because looking back now, I'm like, when you read that book, you got a lot of information about me that I willingly released because a lot of people read the book. But I talked a lot about what I wanted in a future husband. So this carries on for a few years. He's this distant supporter. He's like, you know, the guy that's always in your comments. You like, oh, here he go again, always commenting. But, you know, it's always nice. It's always pleasant. So you can't just be like rude to them, right? And I just wasn't a rude person anyway. So if the compliments, I'm like, thank you, I appreciate that, thank you. And then like the little like flirty comments, I would just ignore. So this goes on for several years, just on social media. That's that. I ended up leaving where I was currently living, and I ended up moving out of state to another state. While I'm in that state, I was there for about 2 years, and towards the end of the second year, Alex was back in my DMs and was back like trying, like this time he was like seriously trying to shoot his shot. So this was about August 2018. I remember he slid in my DMs responding to something that I posted about a husband, and he was like, you know, I was asking God if, you know, if it was his will, but I don't think he wants me to move to where I was living. And I was like, well, you're not my husband. Straight like it. I was like, you're not my husband. Now, I didn't know this then, but I found out later that when I said that to him, he decided that he wanted to send up a special prayer for my mind to change. And if anybody knows anything about witchcraft, you can put 1 and 2 together and know what kind of prayer I'm talking about. And me with my saved, sanctified self was not in the right place. Like me and God, we was not on bad terms, but I had just went through something in the church where I was just kind of like, I'm cool. I wasn't really reading my word. I wasn't in prayer like I used to. My discernment was still there, but you know what I'm saying? I was in a very vulnerable place. Now, that's not an excuse. I'm just letting you guys know, because everybody wants to know, well, how did you fall for that? If you said that wasn't your husband and he prayed a special prayer, how did you fall victim for that? Some of y'all falling victim for it right now. You don't even know it. So eventually he kept being persistent, just having small talk with me. So eventually I was like, well, Jennifer, let's just see what he's talking about. Like, I wanted to be married. I had been engaged before. That was 7 years prior. We didn't get married. And I was like, you know what? You do want to be married. Let me just see what he's talking about. Right? Big mistake. He goes on to tell me how he has this call to ministry, how his parents are in ministry, they have a church, and tell me all of these things. I was looking at my phone to see if I still had the exact messages, and I couldn't find them because I'm pretty sure I deleted everything since then. But telling me all of these things that I was like, wow, this sounds like a lot in alignment with what God's been telling me about my husband. You know, he's checking the boxes. He wants to be married. He wants to have kids. I'm asking all of these different questions. And, you know, I'm like, all right, well, maybe I'll give him a little bit of a chance. Mind you, this is long distance at the time. He starts off very strong with these, like, sending me these notes, like text messages every day that had like prayers on them and like all this inspiring messages. And, you know, in my mind, I'm like, you know, that's a good thing. But every time I would get them, I would wake up and see that he had texted me. I was so vexed in my spirit. And I was like, Jennifer, why do you feel like that? He's being nice to you. I know now that that was God trying to tell me early on, hey, abort mission. But because I was not in God's face, I wasn't listening. I wasn't in God's face. I wasn't in prayer. And I was going based off my own understanding. I shook it off as, Jennifer, you just tripping. And remind you, I'm not physically attracted to him. I'm just like, this is a nice guy. I am like, well, maybe, you know, Jennifer, you need to try something different. I'm trying to like talk myself into this. And, cause he's a nice guy. And, you know, he's sending the flowers. He's doing all the things right. I mean, Cash App here. He know I love crab legs. Go have crab legs. Even to the point, y'all, where I had my god kids for, they had came to visit and they needed to get back home. And, he was like, well, I'm going to come down and visit you. And if they need to, they could ride back with me. So let me also make note of this. This is somebody that is mutual friends with people that I know that have also signed off and said that this is a good guy based off what they know, right? Because everybody's experience with somebody doesn't have to be the same and all the experiences can be true. So that's another reason why I'm like, Jennifer, you know, you just tripping because he's being really nice to you. You're still you might just be a little burnt from a past situation. Like, give him a chance. It's okay. But anywho, he was like, you know, if it's okay with the mom, I'll take them back to North Carolina. So the mom was like, oh yeah, cool. You know, he knows so-and-so. Everybody say he's a good guy, you know, cool. Yeah. Go ahead. That's fine. Takes them home. And, I think now we have gone from August of 2018 to I think I actually started like paying him more attention in December 2018. And then this was around, I forget the exact date when he took my nephews back, but nonetheless, you know, we're there. But, you know, there's the FaceTiming every day. There is the, what do you need? You need an oil change? Where's your gas at? What do you need for this? You know, I want to marry you. You're so beautiful. All the love bombing, baby. So then let's move to, I think it was March of 2019. He had a business trip, and wanted me to come with him. And he was like, yeah, you know, I'll fly you first class, all of the things, you know, you go, wines and dines me, you know, whatever I wanted, the world was mine, right? But I was never sold on him. And my best friend till this day, she's like, you would always say like, you just didn't have peace about something. Then one day I'm on the phone with him and he is going to a routine doctor's appointment for, to check on his heart and things like that. And when he was leaving the doctor's appointment, he's on the phone with me, and his doctor called him back and said, "Hey, I need you to get to the ER right now." And little did I know that from that moment forward, my life was about to shift and change very quickly. Okay, part 2 of Who in the World Did I Marry?
This is what dating with intent looks like. So before you guys even started dating, he's like, "I'm gonna marry you." Like, I feel like that's kind of like a red flag though, because like you haven't even gotten to know me on that type of basis, but you're already telling me that you want to marry me.
Yeah. My red flag when he said God didn't want him to come move where she lived. I'm like, man, didn't Jesus live in a tent in the middle of the desert? Like, I'm being dramatic, but it wasn't luxury. So why would God call him to something higher? Like, well, he sent Jesus and put him in a tent. But
But
that was my red flag. I'm just listening.
this is exactly why if a guy asks you like, "Oh, what's your type?" you never just tell them because they'll just mimic what you like. But eventually that veil does drop and they show exactly who they are. So the fact that he read your book and in your book you stated exactly what you want in a husband, and this stranger is just like, "I want to marry you," he's gonna fill all
Oh
those
my
check
goodness.
boxes.
Yeah, it's like I was thinking in the beginning, like she seems very well, very well educated. So it's like, how can somebody easily just manipulate her, But then it's like, oh yeah, right. She put her whole life in his book. So it's like, if I'm obsessed enough, you're gonna read the whole thing, and it's like, wow, he was able to manipulate this woman. And they gonna never probably be able to happen again. But I guess it's the price you pay when you put your. Because I thought about stuff like that. That's a good lesson to learn. I ain't gonna lie. You can bring in people that's gonna manipulate. They know your book, so they know how to manipulate you in ways. If you was so honest and open, I'm about to check out that book. I ain't gonna lie.
Child, together. So I'm on the phone with him. He has to rush to the emergency room. Naturally, oh, and at this point, I am his girlfriend. I'm officially his girlfriend. We made it official. I believe it was March 7th. Yeah, I think it was March 7th. Now keep that date in mind because I'm going to tell you something that happened like a couple days before he asked me to be his girlfriend. That was like, seriously, bro? But anywho, keep that date in mind. I'm on the phone with him and he's like, he's got to go to the emergency room. So me being the kind of girlfriend that I am, just the person that I am, I'm like, well, stay on the phone with me, stay on FaceTime with me. I want to know what's going on. So he gets there, they're running all of these tests and they end up having to, I believe they ended up having to keep him overnight. They did have to keep him overnight. And I ended up staying on FaceTime with him all through the night because I was like, I just need to keep my eyes on you because something was going on with his heart. It was like, and I think he had to take like a stress test and some other type of test. But then it got to the point where he had to take this test that was like where the catheter had to go in and all of that good stuff. If you know anybody that's been through any type of open heart surgery or a test like that, you know what I'm talking about. So he's scared, naturally. So, I'm just like trying to be supportive. I'm in a whole nother state. I call my mom. I'm like, Mom, like, well, what am I supposed to do? And she was like, well, if that's the person that you plan on being with, you need to be by his side. If you feel like you need to be here, get here. So I'm an entrepreneur at the time. I'm still an entrepreneur, but I was a full-time entrepreneur. And I was like, you know what? Let me just look up a flight. I'm just going to go. I get there in time before he goes back for his testing and he goes back. And when he comes back, the news that we get was like, not good. He has to have this open heart surgery. They explained all of the logistics. And of course, nobody wants to hear that because it's like, that's a very serious procedure and it's life threatening. And who wants anybody to crack your chest open and operate on your heart? So naturally, we're all just kind of like, oof, what is going on? But I'm there, I'm by his side, I'm sticking with him. I'm gonna stick beside him because that's the type of girl I am. When I'm with you, I'm with you. And I'm loyal. And in this case, maybe I was loyal to a fault. Also, let me bring this in here. I forget exactly when, but he also ended up connecting with my best friend and communicating with her and also connecting with my mother. Even though I wasn't there when they first met, he was like, well, I want to meet your mom. So he reached out to my mother on Facebook and set up, I think it was a lunch date for them to meet. Because he was so hell-bent on marrying me. And I'm like, well, you don't know my family. I'm here. Like, da, 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 da. He was like, well, I'm going to reach out to her and see what she says. She goes out to lunch with him. I need to ask my mom about the lunch again. Yeah, I need to ask her about the lunch. Ooh, and I forgot something. Because I want y'all to keep in mind all the ways God was trying to, like, save me. Before I went on that business trip with him, my mother called me and she said, I don't know why I have this feeling, but I'm scared for you. I should have known. And I'm like, Mom, why are you scared? Like, he's a good guy. I'm in good hands. Don't worry about anything. And she was like, I don't know. I got this feeling and I'm scared for you. And that was God, you know, and her motherly instinct saying, something ain't right about this man. She couldn't put a finger on it, but she was scared for me. Now back to being at the hospital. I'm at the hospital. My mom comes up there and her husband comes up there. You know, I have my friend that's a prophet come up there. I think my best friend even came up there at one point. Everybody's just being so supportive because it's such a serious thing. I end up staying there for a couple of days before I went back. Like I did a one-way flight because I was like, I don't know what to expect. Let me just do a one-way flight. And then I think he might have paid for both flights. Or I paid for the first one and he reimbursed me and then he got the second one back. I forget, but that's neither here nor there. But while I'm there, I think we're now in, I forget the date, but it's in 2019, March, April 2019. I go to sleep that night and I wake up hysterically crying and I am scared. And I already know, y'all ain't even got to tell me. The signs were there. But again, we live and we learn. But in the dream, let me actually see if I still had a dream written down. I can't find it. It was from 2019, but nonetheless, in the dream, God showed me everything that was about to happen to me if I married this man. Like it was so detailed to the point where he was yelling and screaming at me at one point. I was scared. My family was there. Like, it was almost like my family was staked out under the stairs, like as if something happened, they were there to have my back. It showed his ex-wife in the part that she was going to play, and we'll talk about that later. It showed just how evil he was going to be to me. But mind you, I've never known him to be an evil man, not since I first met him in 2012, our interactions on social media, and I may have ran into him a couple times because, you know, we lived in the same area. Every interaction was always pleasant. And up until this point, every interaction was pleasant. So when he sees that I'm like upset and I'm crying, he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I had this dream. You were being so mean to me. Like I am terrified. Okay. And I really I understood my dreams, but didn't understand my dreams like I understand my dreams now. But God was warning me, baby, that if I went through with being with this man and marrying him, and we weren't even engaged yet, that was what my life was going to look like. So he does no, I would never do that to you. No, babe, you just had a bad dream. So I'm like, maybe I did just have a bad dream. Maybe I'm just tripping because he's talking about marriage. The last time I was engaged, it was very devastating. And maybe I'm just tripping because I'm scared. I get back on the plane. I go back home. We figure out when he has to have his surgery, all of that jazz. We had a timeline for how we wanted to do things as far as getting engaged and getting married. And of course, because of the open heart surgery, that expedited things. Naturally, I want to be there for my man. I want to be there by his side when we do this, right? So that's what I do. In this time period, he's talking about rings and things with my best friend, showing her rings. One of them, it was like, who is wearing that? Like, do you know me? But the ring that he ended up getting ended up being beautiful. I think my best friend picked it out. My mom or my best friend, I'm not really sure, but everybody co-signed on it and made sure that I got a ring that was of my standard. Now, again, he's in connection with my mom. My mom is building a rapport with him. They're building a relationship. She's like, oh, this is my son-in-law. My best friend is like, girl, he's being so intentional, like telling me all the things. Meanwhile, I'm still over here like, I don't know. But I'm telling myself, Jennifer, you're just fearful because you don't want history to repeat itself. When Luther said, wait for love, I should have waited. So my birthday's coming up. And there's all this talk about, I want to do this big thing for your birthday. I'm thinking about, of course, it's all extravagant, flying you to Mexico or flying you here or doing this or doing that, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. At this point, I'm kind of used to him like spoiling me and giving me all this stuff, although it always felt overwhelming. But I remember a good girlfriend of mine, she was saying when she first met her husband that his love felt overwhelming and they were fine. They're still together till this day. So I'm like, well, maybe I'm tripping, Jennifer. Like, he's being good to you. And just to be clear, there were feelings developing during this time because after spending a certain amount of time with somebody, you do start to care about them. There was love there. And I'm like, Jennifer, it was almost like I hate to say it like this, but it was like I was forcing myself to love him in a capacity that I didn't want to. It was like one of those, well, you're not really attracted to him, but you're attracted to who he is and who he presented. Let me say that. Okay. You're attracted to who he presented and what he was offering you and what you thought was good character, blah, blah, blah. So now it's time for my birthday surprise. And all I knew was that I was flying to where he was. And then I would know the rest of it pretty much when I got there. And that's where things get a little interesting. This, I would like to call, this was my get out of jail free card. And I ain't taking. And God kept giving them to me, but I didn't take it. So I fly to where he was living at the time, and it's my birthday.
I think this is going to be very good education for a lot of women and a lot of just people in general who's going through similar situations. The one thing I picked up from this for real when she was like, you could tell it's love bombing. It shouldn't feel overwhelming in a sense. Like in the beginning, if what he's doing for you in this situation, like if he's buying you a lot of stuff and it feels overwhelming, then that could be a sign of what love bombing based off what she said. That's what I picked up from it. It was like, wow, I think that's something a lot of people can take note to and just think about that next time when you are casually dating and, you meet a person and you start to feel overwhelmed by the things that they're doing. That could be a sign of them trying to, it could be a sign of love bombing or just maybe I don't know. You just got to be cautious, read people right, you know what I'm saying? But if it's overwhelming, maybe communicate it to them and then see if they continue to try to like do stuff like that to get more control of everything that you are currently doing. They'll try to pay all your bills, whatever the case may be, depending on the person they're talking to, depending on your standard. Some of you would go for a sandwich and, the higher end there, you might have to pay all their bills, for the year or something like that. But it's just whatever the type of woman he's dealing with, he clearly knew because he read the book.
Let me know down below if you believe this is a green flag or a red flag. If they get into like acquaintance with your family, your friends, I feel like that's a red flag in the beginning because it's like as your friends gossip, whatever. You're gonna go to your family, your friends, you're gonna tell them what's going on. And if it's something bad, they're gonna be like, but no, he's such a good guy because what they see isn't what you're seeing. So it's gonna kind of persuade how you're feeling about the relationship. I feel like
Yeah.
it's a red flag.
I think it's a red flag. I think it'll be more of a red flag if I first meet you and I'm very eager to get to know all your family
Mm-hmm.
immediately. I think that's a red flag in a sense because it's like first get to know me. You know what I'm saying? So I get what you're saying. It's like, yeah, you ain't take time to get to know me before you. That's the only way you can tell because sometimes people will be like, oh, well, he just want to meet your family, the people you love. But in reality, I think they should think more of like, has he gotten to know you yet? So why the hell would he want to meet your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters? It could be a way to gain
Like, yeah,
control,
learn more about you
It's,
too.
you know,
If you have any secrets, they're gonna be telling him if they are like this.
I mean, listen,
But
we
and
know
then
marriage coaches, but life,
and then for me, I feel like when you're dating somebody, you should be attracted to them. It
yeah.
might sound childish, but it's like when y'all get into it, at least it's like at least you're cute.
I mean, at least everybody, listen, attractiveness is all based off of the person who's judging you at that point. Everybody's attractive level is different based off of who's judging, but yeah, I don't want to get too much in this. A long story time. Let's learn. I love this. We might not say a lot in this video because she's teaching, so you don't really need us to interfere in that much, but I just wanted to say that. So let's get to it.
All right, part 3. Who in the world, who the heck, what in the why, girl, did you marry this man? So it's my birthday. I'm gonna kind of like summarize this for the most part because I don't remember every detail, but it's my birthday. Well, maybe the day before my birthday. I think it was, I got arrived the day before my birthday. And he has like all of these things set up. So the first thing that he has set up is, I wake up and I'm told to get dressed and that I'm going to have like a spa day and that I have my driver coming to pick me up. Now, mind you, y'all, he has his own house. I'm staying with him at his house. We're going to talk about the house later because all I'm going to say is he ain't have no business getting me a driver with his house being the way that his house was. Anywho, gets me a driver. I think it was one of his friends that has a car company. They picked me up from the house. I think that that's dope. You know, I might have got some flowers or something too. I don't remember. But, you know, I go get my massage, spa day, all of that good jazz. After that, we go have lunch with his daughters at one of my favorite restaurants. So I was like, okay, that's cute. You know, inviting me into the family, incorporating me and all of that good stuff. And then what happened after that? I think I had like some rest time per se. But the whole day, y'all, I just was like... this man is going to propose to me, and I just wasn't settled yet, right? Like, I felt like I needed more time, and Lord knows I did. I should have just listened to God, like, from the first time. The first time that I responded to that man in August of 2018 and said, but you're not my husband, I should have just exited the chat and never came back. But here we are. Dinner reservations. We go to, he has a hotel room decorated for me for my birthday, all of that cute stuff. And, then we have a dinner reservation at this really nice restaurant right across the way. So I'm like, okay, cool. We go to dinner. That's cool. We go to dinner, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, basically he was trying to like tell me that after that, the driver was going to come get us and he was just going to take us downtown and we just were going to have a night on the town and have fun for the rest of my birthday. But I know that something's up. I'm like, yeah, something's up. So we leave the restaurant and go back to the hotel, which has like a rooftop where you can kind of like go up there if you want to grab a cocktail or just kind of like kick it. He was like, hey, let's go upstairs while we wait for the driver. He's running behind. I think that was the excuse. And we walk outside and I walk outside to my family and friends, a videographer, and showtime. Now, don't get me wrong. When I finally did look back on my proposal video, it was a very nice proposal, but I can still feel the feelings I felt in that video because it wasn't like the kind of like, when a girl gets proposed to and she's like, oh my God. And like, she drops down and she's crying because she sees her family and she finally notices what's going on. I just kind of like walked in and smiled like, hey y'all, okay, y'all here for my birthday. But then it was kind of awkward because I was like, I know you're proposing, but then he didn't start proposing. And then like, he's like mic'd up and everything. He, starts this speech. The speech was nice. He was a writer too. So, writers, they can write. Manipulators can say whatever they need to say in order to get what they want. So, he says a speech. It was nothing that made me like start crying or anything. It was just very sweet. And, I say yes, put the ring on and it's like, I'm going like in my insides. I'm like, Jennifer, this is not really, you don't really have full peace about this, but I'm just going with it. Y'all. Knowing full and well. Well, I didn't know full and well. I'm not even going to say that because if I knew and I was sure that I knew, I wouldn't have went through with it. I just didn't have peace and I didn't know why I didn't have peace. And I kept second guessing myself. I kept second guessing my discernment and second guessing the voice of God that was literally, when I look back now, screaming at me. So, there's cake, there's, my friends there. So we enjoy the rest of the evening. There's no night out on the town. I go to sleep. I forget how long I ended up staying, but, I leave and go back to where I was living at the time, a fiance.
Wow. That's manipulation at its finest. It's like he done flew out your family. Okay. You have no choice but to say yes in this moment. Even if you have to go on later on and say, I really wanted to say no. At that very moment, videographer on you. The camera's on you. So not even if your family that couldn't make it could see it. Everyone's about to see it eventually.
That's embarrassing, bro. You got to know for sure. You got to know for sure before you get on that knee, man. Because I'll damn near never do it again. I ain't gonna lie to you. I would never do it again. If somebody ever told me no,
Second time I'm a fiance. Second time I'm like a 90-day fiance. I should just know. I should just like, I've learned my lesson, y'all. I don't want to be a 90-day fiance no more. Let me take that back. I can be a 90-day fiance with the right man. With the right man. But, now it's like, okay, we have a date for the surgery. We're like, okay, that means that I would have to expedite my move. I wasn't going to move to where he was until like August. We're in April at the time, which meant I would have to move by May, which expedited things. I mean, I had to get somebody to take over my lease, which is a whole nother story. The agreement was that I was going to sell all my furniture because we were going to refurnish the house. Because again, y'all, I'm going to tell y'all about the house. We were going to refurnish the house because I was raised in certain living standards. Okay. I was not raised with, I'm embarrassed even saying this, carpets that were stained with dog poop pee from years of just not cleaning, wallpaper that was from the looked like 50s on the walls. I mean, just outdated, didn't look good, just wasn't my standard. So one of the things that he said was like, well, you can, and the furniture that I had was very girly. So it wasn't like I had like a purple couch. I was living in the city, as a girly girl. I didn't have furniture that would have like meshed well in. So the agreement was that we were going to get new furniture. We were going to paint the walls. Now he had already painted one room. I think that was maybe the kitchen, which was the worst. Child, that one was the worst. And we were that was the agreement. You sell your stuff. We're going to go get all new furniture for the home. We're going to start this new life together. All the lies. Now it's time for me to move. I remember I had to go on a business trip in Colorado. I came back from the business trip. I was already packed up. I packed up my things and I left and I went to go move in with him. Of course, he, paid for all of that. I pocketed some money from the furniture that I sold. It wasn't a lot of furniture. Like, it wasn't a whole lot. But, I'm under the pretense that we're going to get this new furniture. We're going to redesign this home, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. All lies. So I get there. I think I moved in the day, like maybe 2 days before his surgery, 2 or 3. I think it was 2 days, maybe the day before. Don't quote me. Nonetheless, his family is there. Everybody's moving my stuff in. This is a big transition for everybody. We got the fiance moving in. We got the heart surgery. It was just, a lot going on. So, I'm excited on one hand because I'm like, okay, Jennifer, like, this is what you've always wanted. Like, you want to be married. One of my dreams was that my husband would move me into a house. Like, I wouldn't have to worry about housing because when my husband came along, he would already have a house and he would move me in. So I'm like, this is what you've been praying for. So, I'm like falling in love with the idea of this becoming, like our girl said, like, this is a dream come true. I'm getting the fairy tale. And wasn't no fairy tale to be found. But so, him and I had decided privately that before we were going to go into surgery, he told me he didn't want to go into surgery without me being his wife. So I was like, well, we can just go to the courthouse. I don't know if it was my idea or his idea, but we agreed. I'll say that. We agreed to go to the courthouse. We got married. And this is the day before the surgery. We didn't. Well, I told my mom, and my mom was pissed. She didn't really tell me how pissed she was at the time, but she was pissed because she had told him not to do that. But the ink had already dried, baby. And we're going, we're going into surgery the next day. Go into surgery the next day. Well, that night he had to do all his prep, all the things that you have to do. I'm being the supportive now wife that I am. And I'm like helping him get ready. Everything's still on the up and up. He's still treating me like a queen. And then the next day we get ready to go into surgery. And after surgery, everything changed. All right, we're back. I think this is like part 4 of Jennifer, what were you doing? Who in the world did you agree to marry? And I remembered something that I didn't mention in the beginning of the love bombing was I had posted around Christmas time of 2018 uh several things I wanted for Christmas, and one of the things I wanted was an air fryer. And he saw that and he was like, "Can I get you the air fryer?" And I was like, and I'm like, he was like, I was reluctant. And he was like, it'll be like, he said, it'll be me sowing a seed into you. So I'm like, all right, go ahead, sow the seed into me, so he got me the air fryer as a gift. And this is before, we're in a relationship or anything. So I wanted to make sure I made mention of that, because it was a lot of things that he did, from first class flights to paying for things that were, love bombing. And also I want to make note that this is not somebody that was a scammer. He actually had legitimate verifiable income. Another thing I wanted to know, I remember when we were just like dating, getting to know each other better, he had made a Facebook post, and I was friends with him on Facebook, but I was also friends with his ex-wife on Facebook, just because, all from the same city. I forget how she and I connected years ago online. I always post inspiring things, so that might have been why, but she would like my stuff, I would like her stuff. I never really connected the two of them, but in that time period, I was like, oh, that's his ex-wife. But I had commented something on his post, and she had commented, she was like, oh, I could totally see this. Mind you, she's in her own relationship. She's moved on and she wants him to be happy. So she's like, oh, I could totally, Jennifer is amazing. I forget the exact wording that she said, but she was like, I could totally see you two together. So that was another thing I was like, okay, well, even she's like on board with this. So, that's like giving me peace. I'm like, okay, your ex-wife has moved on. She's in support of you moving on. Those are all things that I'm like, okay, these are green flags. All is well. Where I left off was we were getting ready to go in for surgery. So another thing that I want to clear before we go any further, this is not to bash him. This is not to, slander him or anything like that. Like, he has been forgiven. What happened between us happened, it's done. It's over with. So this is not what this video is for, but I haven't been able to fully explain to people everything that happened. Like, my family was there, my friends that were sticking beside me during that time that I confided in, they knew what was going on, but I've never fully told the story. And there's a lot of things that I just left out, but it's going to make for a good story nonetheless. But anywho, so we're getting ready to go into surgery, and it's the morning of, we're going into surgery. I drive him there, his family and everybody's there. He goes in, we pray, do all the things. He goes in for surgery, naturally, because I'm your wife now. I did love him, and I'm like, I'm nervous. I'm like, this is a major surgery. So we're all sitting in the waiting area. I think it was me, his mom, were his kids there? I think his kids were there too. We're all waiting, watching the screen like you do, trying to make sure that, everything is good, and just waiting the hours until he comes out. So he finally comes out of surgery. He wakes up, people wake up from surgery different ways. And he's like, where's Jennifer? Where's Jennifer? He's calling for me. They're like, Jennifer, he's calling for you. So I go in there, I let him know I'm here, because one of the agreements that we made was that I would stay by his side the whole time he was in the hospital. Like, we agreed that I would stay there, sleep there, etc. That's what he wanted. I was his wife. I was in agreement. That was what we decided. So he wakes up, and I'm like, okay, you're good. So
I get that, as a wife, I respect that she did it. But as a man, it's just like, I wouldn't want my woman to be in the hospital with me every day. Like, go home, tend to the bills, tend to the stuff that needs to be taken care of. Why would I want you to be uncomfortable? Because we all slept, some of us, maybe during deliveries, babies, we've all slept in hospitals, man, as the visitor. And it's not comfortable at all. So, I mean, I feel like the reason why he married her was to trap her. I mean, obviously she's saying that, but it's clear. It's very clear. I can see exactly why she says that, because look what he said as soon as they got married. Oh, but the contingency of this is that I need you to stay in the hospital with me the whole time. Like, you can't go anywhere. Like, while I'm under, like, it's almost like I want to watch you. You think you're watching him, but I feel like he's just trying to keep an eye on you. Where is my wife? I need her here. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just tripping. What y'all think?
I definitely feel like him pushing for them to get married sooner, that was definitely manipulation. I feel like it has something to do with, oh, you're gonna be my wife, you get my life insurance, I could possibly pass away from this surgery. If I do pass away, it'll go directly to you. Maybe that's why he wanted her to be in the hospital the whole time. Like, you're about to get everything if this surgery goes left. And when I'm healing, when I do come from
Well,
the surgery, you better be with me every step of the way. It's like you have to earn it. If you want this lifestyle, if you want my money, like I've already been giving you anyway, this is what it's gonna have to take. You're gonna have to be my healthcare person in home with me. You have to be there completely in the hospital with me every single day. It's just I feel like he's just dangling that money in
and
her
she would
face.
have only did it if she was his wife. That's why it was so important to make her the wife before the surgery. So you saying exactly what I'm saying. That's why I said that. It's like,
It's
because
like the
who's going to
solidify.
do that as the girlfriend? Like, nigga, no, come on now. But oh, his wife. So now it just changes. He used it against her immediately. So I feel where she's coming from. You know what I'm saying? That's
You
crazy.
know, fast forward to when things get a little sticky. Now, he had already spoken to me about his relationship with his ex-wife and how they co-parent, etc. And he was like, they're cool. He was like, but it was nothing too deep, which was, I learned to be a lie later. Not that they were still sleeping together, nothing like that, but they were closer than what he had revealed. So she came to the hospital, she's there with her daughter and all that. And, I understand that. He was her fiance at the time. Her fiance at the time, or was he her husband? He was her fiance. Her fiance at the time. And let me also say this, like, I see her and her husband out all the time now, and it's all love. And just put a pin in that too, because that gets a little crazy. So everybody's there, and we get to the point where it's time for him to be transferred out of ICU to his room. So the time that we're like spending in the waiting area, I'm getting to know his mom better or whatever. And I am noticing a couple things, and I'm also noticing some things that were just kind of like not really sitting well with me. And I could sense there was some tension. So when he gets moved to his room, naturally his mom is doing what a mom does, making sure her son is okay. And I have nothing against that, but they got to a point where it was like, she was trying to boot me out of being present. I had to free up some storage in order to record this, so I'm back. But part 5 of Jennifer, you crazy as hell for marrying this man, okay? So I felt disrespected. She came in there and she did what she did. And I called my mom. I told my mom what happened, and my mom's like, because my mom had just left from visiting. She was like, do you need me to come back up there? I said, absolutely, because I'm going to say something. Like, I'm going to say something. Now, when we sat down and we had the conversation, it started off respectful, but because she looked at me as a little girl and not the grown woman that I was, she thought that she could talk at me, et cetera, et cetera. It became a heated discussion, and I revealed to her, I was like, well, I'm his wife. Shane like that, because Shane know, and her son had kept that from her. So probably not the best timing, but we live and we learn. Nonetheless, she runs back into his room. She's upset with him, getting him riled up, which is the wrong thing to do because he just had open heart surgery. He doesn't need the stress. Everything calms down. I forget exactly what words were said and what he said, but I think he was like, I can't have this stress and da-da-da. And I was like, you know what, he's right. He shouldn't have that stress. So she ends up leaving. I stay. Him and I have a conversation. We talk it out because, again, we're married. So after that night, I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm going to clear the air tomorrow because at the end of the day, I don't want to start off my introduction into this new family like this. So the next day, I talked to her and her husband is with her. I talked to them. We have a good conversation. We clear the air all as well. I stay with him for the rest of his stay at the hospital. He did not like the way that everything went down. But to my knowledge, I thought, it was over with. Everybody was forgiven. Everybody forgave each other. We're moving on. But if you know anything about people that have toxic behaviors, and I'm not saying that he's a narcissist, but he mirrors one. Once you do something wrong, they don't forget about it. Or something they deem wrong, they don't forget about it. I also have people in my corner, my wise counsel and everything, they're telling me like how I should have handled it. You definitely should stick up for yourself, et cetera. But, there's ways that things could have been done. It was handled poorly on everybody's behalf, I can say, honestly, looking back. But one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stand up for myself. Nobody puts baby in the corner. So now we get home. Of course, everybody's making sure he's okay. There's all these instructions that we have. I'm still kind of unpacking all the things. Family's there. So everybody's like getting to know each other. Whoop de whoop. And then something in him just started to shift. And I was like, he's not treating me like he normally does, you know, but it's only me he's treating like he doesn't normally treat. So I'm like trying to figure out what's going on. I've done all the research, so I know all of the like personality things that can come with after someone who has had open heart surgery, like pump head and, you know, like them not really feeling like themselves and all of the things. Like I have joined the Facebook support groups, I've watched the YouTube videos. I mean, I have done my due diligence, okay? But it's like he is like targeting me as like a bad guy. And I was just like, well, this is strange because he's never treated me this way. He's always been super nice. He's like pretty much worshiped the ground that I walked on. Like I could do no wrong. And I was just like, it was like a light switch. You know, we had gotten home, gotten settled, and things were good. And then it was like a light switch, things changed. I remember, and I'm gonna give you guys like different things that happened. I think that's where I'm gonna start from this point. Different things that he did that were just like, what? So I remember it was one morning all I did was wake up, y'all. I woke up and I just like naturally, I think I just turned his direction and he was like, what are you looking at? And I'm like, bro, I just woke up. Good morning. But I'm also confused. I'm like, why are you treating me so mean? And like this like distant behavior, this meanness, this like cold shoulder thing. I was just like so confused and I was completely devastated. And I'm devastated because obviously, like, I just married this man. I've gone through a broken engagement before. So I'm like, no. It felt like that devastation from my broken engagement. Now, if y'all want that story time, that's a whole nother story time. Y'all let me know in the comments. I'll give you that story too. That was in like 2013. But I'm devastated, right? And I'm like, this man just had me uproot myself from where I was good and happy, living my good life, selling my furniture to move here, and now this is how you treat me? Oh, absolutely not. And this is where the cycle of abuse came in. Now, he never physically put his hands on me. There was one time I think he hit the wall and he like knocked my cup out of my hand, but he never physically put his hands on me because he was stupid, but he wasn't that stupid. And when I say the cycle of emotional abuse, more so emotional, mental, and some financial too, but this cycle of abuse started where, you know, some days he loved me, some days he didn't. Some days he wanted to snuggle with me, some days he didn't. Some days I was, you know, I'm so happy I'm married to you. Then some days he's like, I should have never married you. It was a huge mistake. So that alone was something I had never experienced before. But I'm also like, Jennifer, you're a wife now. And, you know, when you're a wife, you have to be supportive. I'm like, you know, through the good and the bad. And I'm like, our bad is right now. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, this is just our bad because of the circumstances. You know, he had surgery. This is not how people typically start their marriage. You know, give him some grace, right? Give him some grace. He's trying to heal from this traumatic surgery. I'm seeking out other women in the support groups, reading their stories. I'm telling them what I'm going through. They're like giving me encouragement. I'm thinking that it's like due to the surgery and this is just what it is. And it's like, okay, Jennifer, just hold on. You know, I'm also a woman of God, so I'm seeking wise counsel. I'm getting prophetic words like, you know, it's going to turn around. So I'm like, okay, Jennifer, just hold on. You know, it's just a bad moment of your marriage. This is what I'm thinking. So then this is like probably like the surgery was in May. We got married in May. This is probably like June, July. I think it was more so July. You know, it got to the point where it's like, he was like, I want you to move out, da 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 da. I was like, okay, if you want me to move out, you need to make sure I'm comfortable because you moved me here. Okay. I'll move out, but you're going to make sure I'm comfortable. So we go and we look at apartments. We found one. We get approved. He puts his name on the application too. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe he's going to put his name on the application too. So this will be temporary just so he can have some space. And then, you know, we'll work on things, just not living together. Get approved, and then it's time for us to sign the paperwork, and I bring it up to him. Oh, we even went as far as going to the furniture store to look for furniture because he knew he had to replace my furniture. It's time for us to sign the lease because, you know, there's time limits on these things, and he's like, you know what, I want us to work on the marriage, da 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 da. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is a good sign, whatever. I'm a C, right? I'm hopeful, right? I'm a new wife. I'm hopeful. There was also a point in time where we tried to go to counseling. We tried 2 different counselors. The first one, I actually looked at his paperwork, and honestly, it was heartbreaking when I looked at his paperwork because, you know, everybody, you do your intake paperwork. He just wrote in different places like I just don't want to be married to her. She's this and she's that. Like it was heartbreaking to read because I'm like, how do you feel that way about me? Like I was just the queen of your world. Like it was so confusing because it was literally two different people. It was like, what? And here's another thing. He had gotten good about not showing people how he treated me in private. When it was, and then there was a time I did catch him though. Like he would kind of just like around people, he just would be like, okay. But when he got me in private, oh, that's when things were different. But and I was telling his mom and his family, I'm like, this is what he's doing. And she's like, I didn't raise him like that. That's not my son. Da 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 da. And I was like, okay. Okay, Sheila. And her name ain't Sheila. But okay, Sheila. That ain't your son. You ain't raised him like that. Cool. So one day in the middle of one of his outbursts, I went ahead and opened up my phone and I did what? I hit record. Because who you finna lie on and make it seem like I'm crazy when you are? So I hit record and I go ahead and I send that recording to his mother. And she goes, I didn't raise him like that. I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna now you believe me. Now I ain't raised him like that. Da, 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 da. But you thought I was lying before. And I think I even still have some of those recordings. Let me see if I can find them. And I'll let you know exactly what that recording said. Next part.
Why do parents always get so offended? Like, why do moms always get so offended when they hear that their sons are bad people? It's almost like they taking blame for it. It's like they're grown. Like you can't what they became after they grew up is like how much blame does a parent get? At what age can we stop blaming our parents? I think it's just after I don't know. I would say as soon as your frontal lobe is fully developed, whatever age that is for some of you, you got to stop. It's just up to you now. We can't keep saying, "Oh, my mom didn't do this," and then your parents, they instead of correcting y'all, they over here feeling bad as if they missed a part of. Like we all live in this life. I say this a lot, but it's so true. We are all living this life for the first time. Whoever your son is, that's who he is. It's not our fault. You know what I'm saying? If he wasn't experiencing those behaviors before he got older and started having more control of his life, then how could like this is what he chose to do with his control? Like, that's what I would look at it as. I'm not gonna be no sad grandpa. Now, I tried my best. Yeah, that's all I can say. I lived life once.
I will never understand why when you're in a relationship, they try to get other people involved in it. If me and my spouse is having a conversation, disagreement, you shouldn't get other people involved because they are not going to feel the same way when things are forgiven.
Yeah,
But it's like you're trying to tell on him like he's a child and his mom is just going to come correct him.
yeah, but you gotta think of it like this though. It's like if you put on a facade to somebody that you love your mother and you respect everything about your mother and what she say, right? Then if you and me having an issue, who you gonna call? I'm gonna call your mama, even though it's not her business. But it's like in that moment, it's just probably a moment of heat, hot situation. It's like, who can I confide in right now? Because I'd rather her confide in the mother than some random friend. You know what I'm saying? And I know, understanding she got. I think on our part, we need to understand that the parents will have bias. Not a lot of them will go by the scripture and correct their kids and discipline their children. They will just let them be who they are and say, "Well, I didn't raise them that way. Don't blame me." It's not that we're blaming you. It's really we just need you to talk to him, talk some sense into him real quick because he tripping. You know what I'm saying? And he said he respected, listen to everything you say. So that's why I'm here. So that's why I'm assuming. I'm assuming that's could just be a part of the manipulation. Whole time, it probably was never like that between him and his mom. You know what I'm saying? He probably keep a lot of stuff from his mother. So but that's what I'm thinking.
Part 6 of Girl, You Should Have Known Better. But in the midst of me trying to find that recording, I found another recording. So let's rewind a little bit back to May. The issue with the ex-wife and her just always being in the mix, which just was weird to me. We end up all having a sit-down conversation. He's like, because I had sent her a message. I forgot what I sent her, but I sent her a message and we all needed to have a round table just so everybody could get on the same page. But that's what I'm listening to now. I'm going to summarize it for you. I'll be right back. In this conversation, she's just expressing like how when I came into the fold of things, she was happy, da 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 da. And she had mentioned to me, she was like, she could be a bit much. So if I had any issues with her, to come to her. And that's what I did. That's why I sent the message, because I had an issue. I don't remember exactly what my issue was, But I had an issue. But one thing about me, I'm and then another thing she had said, she was like, I'm older than you, and I've seen some things. Like, they kept trying to little girl me. Like, I was like, I ain't know what I was talking about. Like, I ain't know what I was what I was talking about. I had made some poor decisions. I made some naive decisions, especially when I said yes to this man. But when I was in that thing and God started opening my eyes, I was seeing exactly what I was seeing. And just put a pin in that, because they so she's like, they're friends, etc. And then she was like, the insecurity. She was like, I don't know where they're coming from. I'm no way insecure. I mean, she's a beautiful woman. I won't take that away from her, but I don't ever see another woman as a threat, ever. But she was like, the insecurity. She was like, I don't know where they're coming from. Maybe they need to be dealt with in therapy. I'm in therapy. And I'm just like, I forget exactly how I was sitting there, but I probably was not the happiest on the inside listening. So as I'm listening to the conversation, it was beginning to go left, because it was like she was expressing how, how her child felt about the situation, and how she didn't take to that, and how she didn't like that because it was her child. And, listening back on, I'm like, I get it, I understand. But the way she was talking, though, I think he looked at me and probably was like, oh, she gonna swing on her. She gonna swing on her, because I'm not an arguer. I'm the type of person, I'm gonna let you talk long enough until I'm gonna shut you up. Well, that's how I used to be. I'm saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. Now, I don't put my hands on people no more, but there was a time. There was a time. But anywho, he interjects and he's like, hey, can we keep a positive tone here? Just trying to like bring the conversation back to a level set, I guess. And this is not the first time him and her have had to have a sit down, but I'll talk about that down the line too. Then she made a comment. She was like, we're just friends. He's welcome at my house and I'm welcome at his house. And I'm like, this is my house now. Well, it's our house, but there's a new queen of this castle. You know what I'm saying? So he interjects. Because he's like, let me clean that up. And he's like, we have boundaries. And he was like, even when she drops the child off because they co-parent, she never comes into the house, and she agrees or whatever. But there was like a little bit of like, and this is in my opinion, there was a little bit of like, I gotta still stake my claim. Like, I still run this a little bit over here that was like coming off from her. And I was just like, I just don't understand, like, why you think that you could tell another grown woman what you was going to do concerning her marriage or the house that she now lives in.
The real question is, where's her husband? Ain't she married or engaged or something like that? I'm trying to figure out why is she making statements like that with a whole husband at home. Where is he at in this whole story?
Yeah, the way she's acting is unacceptable. This what kind of has me thinking, like, she said they were all friends on Facebook and that the ex-wife, before she even knew she was the ex-wife, was interacting with herself. I wonder if the ex-wife mentioned her to like her ex-husband, like, oh, like I watch her on the media, or he sees her interacting with her stuff, and now it's like, okay, I'm gonna prove a point and I'm gonna get this girl that my ex-wife watches, like
Wow.
as a one up.
Could
But
be
the
the
fact that
case.
the ex-wife is even like trying to, this really blows me when they try to make it seem like, I still got him. It's still my way. If I don't like it, then I'm going to tell him and he's going to make sure that it gets delivered to you. So she is just in the wrong completely. If you're still hung up on your ex like that, just be with them. I don't know why
Yeah.
they feel like they want to leave them and then still have control over what's going on in their household and their next relationship. It does not work like that at
But
all.
I like the way they're handling it, though. They handling it on a mature level. Like, this is the most mature story time, like classy, respectful, mature story time we've ever heard. Where the man is actually just like, hold on, let me correct that real quick before this gets out of hand. She never came in my house ever, and she
Yeah, she's just
right,
trying. The ex-wife is just trying to get her
So I
riled
can
up.
respect how he is at this point. And it seems like he married, like, whatever his criteria, he got a good criteria for women, though. You got to think about it. The last one he married got married again. And then now he's currently married again to this one, who will possibly well, I don't know if she ended up divorcing him. We about to find out or not. But she'll most likely definitely marry again. So he's picking good women. And I'm saying, I'm about to figure out how it all get to the who the hell did I marry part. But yeah, so far it seems like he picking good people.
So he goes into this whole, I didn't consider that. I didn't think about that because, she never comes into the house. And then she goes on to, well, yeah, I never come into the house and that's my boundary. But just a second ago, everybody was welcome in everybody else's houses. That was how it was trying to be portrayed to me until it got cleared up. So they were trying to say it was just because it was special circumstances, the reason why she had kept popping up. I just remembered when I first came the first time when he got the diagnosis, she popped up then at the house and came in the house then. So I'm like, hi, like, okay, you're here. Then at the hospital, she kept popping up. And then you're decorating the house for the party. And then even at that, you just, no, as a new wife, you don't want to deal with having to see another woman that much, right? Especially when you have been given the belief that y'all ain't even cool like that. Had it been explained to me that they were like, they co-parent this way, they're really good friends, da 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 da, it would have given me a different perspective on how to look at that. I would have seen it from a different viewpoint. But when you're telling me one thing and I'm seeing another, I got an issue with that. So she felt like she said something along the lines like she felt like I just wanted this perfect bubble. No, I just wanted the truth. I didn't care what if the bubble included you, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew of her prior to this, and I was like, okay, if y'all got a good thing, co-parenting thing going on, cool. I'm okay with that. But to the other recording where the one that I sent his mom, he's basically telling me, he's like, I've been trying to be nice, but you really pressing me. And I'm trying, and if you can't just leave me the F alone, then you can go. And I was like, and I said it in just the same words I'm about to say. And I said, but I'm not bothering you, because when I tell y'all I was not bothering this man, I was not bothering. So he goes, it's a shame you think this is a game. And I was like, I don't think that this is a game. I do think you need some help. Like, I think you need to go sit down and talk to somebody because you acting crazy. I got to stop laughing, listening to these. I wish I could just play them for you because the comedy. He's like, I feel the way I feel and you're just making it worse. So I'm like, I'm making it worse. How? I'm like, all I'm doing is living in the house that you wanted me to live in, the one that you paid for me to come to, the one that you were so adamant about getting me back here to be in with you because you wanted to be with me. The confusion. So this man goes, yo, Slim, who you talking to? So I'm like, I'm talking to you because this is the discussion that we had before I came here. Like, you the one that flipped the script. You're the one that changed. I am still the same person. Nothing shifted with me. So I'm reiterating to him, like, you're the same man that said, I would marry you yesterday, da, 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 da. You're the one that's going to my friends, my family. Like, you have made it this big thing to make everybody comfortable because my family don't play about me. And after what I had went through several years ago with my broken engagement, they're like, we don't want nothing to happen to her. Like, we love each other in my family. You know what I'm saying? And they do not play about me. So you went through all of these great lengths to make yourself seem like this really great person and for them to trust you. And now you're acting crazy. You're acting crazy. And then he was like, well, tell me one thing that I did to be mean to you. And I'm like, look at you. You're being mean right now. So then I give him an example. I bring up the time where, I said, I just turned around and you were giving me this evil stare. And then he starts yelling. He goes, I keep asking you to give me, and he curses, specifics. So I'm like, well, there's one, because now he's getting all like he's doing what I'm saying he's doing. But his daughter was in the house and it upset her, and she came in, and then she was like, "Can you please calm down?" And that's when he calmed down. And of course, it was my fault that she was upset. So he apologizes to her. I apologize too, because I'm like, it's the right thing to do. And she leaves out the room. And then I look at my I said, this is why you need help. This is tearing your girls apart. And I'm being calm. I'm still being calm, y'all. I really wish I could play this recording for y'all, but I don't know if that's illegal or not here in North Carolina. But somebody, if you a lawyer, let me know. But because it's way more entertaining if you can listen to it. So after I say, do you realize that this is tearing your girls apart? He's like, first of all, why are you still talking to me? And then goes on to say, I keep asking you for specifics and you're not giving me no specifics. So do you want me to talk to you or do you not want me to talk to you? Y'all see the kind of madness I was going through? So then he ends up like saying like, don't say nothing else to me. I was like, don't say nothing else to me. He was like, get out. And I was like, I'm not going nowhere. And I think this might have been the day he called the police. And of course, because nobody put their hands on each other, really nothing happened. There's just so much to unpack because I forgot about so many different recordings that I have in my phone, y'all. I think I'm going to just call this next series, Just Listen, because I'm listening back like, boy, this was a hot mess. But nonetheless, he tried the whole police thing. That didn't work. And mind you, in the midst of all of this, where we still have this back and forth, like we're still being intimate. We're married. There's these sweet moments, and then there's these sour moments, and then it's like this back and forth. He wants me here. He doesn't want me here. It was all over the place. Emotionally and mentally, I was like, phew. We tried the counselor. The first counselor didn't work. Tried a second counselor. At some point, the second counselor didn't work. So then I went to therapy for my good self. And that was probably the best thing I could have done that whole time in that marriage. Next. Okay, part 7 of Girl, just Girl. But I want to bring you guys into like, okay, well, what was I doing during this time? So I'm like, okay, Jennifer, you need to get back in your word. You need to be praying. You need to be fasting. You need to be seeking God. I think I went to Sarah's conference, and I'm a conference girl. Like that ain't nothing new. I didn't just meet Jesus or anything. I was going to conference. I was going to church. I was really, really like honing in on like wanting to hear God, but it was very cloudy because I really couldn't hear what God really wanted me to hear versus what I really desired to happen. Because the reality of it was like, I didn't want to fail marriage. I didn't want to, you know, publicly be embarrassed because now this was yet another relationship. And I've only ever posted 2 relationships publicly ever in my life. And both of them, I was engaged or married. And I'm like, I didn't want to have to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm going to fight for my marriage. But I also made a promise to myself that if this didn't turn around within about 6 months, I was out of there. Because you also have to remember at this time, like I'm very big on self-worth. I'm very big on women standing their ground and not letting a man do them dirty, etc. And remember, I'm giving him the excuse and the grace of this is because of the surgery. This is like a reaction from the surgery, yada, yada, whoop-de-whoop. So that's how I was governing myself as a wife. I'm praying, I'm fasting. There were even times like I would leave, I would get up and go into his office, and that's where I would spend my quiet time. He would like barge in there looking around and doing crazy stuff, even in that. Like, and y'all, most of all, let me say that. If you understand people with that type of toxic personality trait, you understand that in the spirit realm, it is spirit of Leviathan, it's a spirit of pride. And that thing was manifesting real bad. But in that time, you know, I was like, I'm going to give my best shot. I'm going to fight for my marriage. It's the first time I've been married. I'm at least going to try to fight. So that's where I was at that point in the midst of all the chaos going on. But let's get back into the story. I think at this point, this is when I go to therapy. I start going to therapy, and wonderful woman, can't thank her enough to this day. You know, the first couple of sessions, I'm just introducing her to what's going on. You know, every session, it was something new. Every time I came up in there, it was like, what happened in your circus this week? Because that's really what it felt like. It felt like a circus. I just finished listening to another recording. So this man would antagonize me. This is some of the circus stuff that was going on. That's what we're just going to call. We're going to call this next part. Welcome to the circus. He would antagonize me because I would, you know, when you are with someone like this, one of the things that they do is they deny you the love that you want. Like in the beginning, you know, showering me with compliments and love and affirmation and da 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 da, and then he snatched it away. Right. So one of the things that we had been discussing, I was like, you know, well, you're not really affectionate, da 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 da. And he was antagonizing me one day. And he was like, he said on this recording, he was like, we must have just finished arguing because I was pissed in this recording. And he was like, you still want hugs and kisses? I guess like in the middle of the argument to antagonize me. And I was like, no. Something else that would happen in this circus. So, you know, after this major surgery, you're not supposed to drink. I would find airplane bottles in his pocket because he was sneaking off and drinking. Something else that happened in this circus. He wasn't supposed to be driving for a certain amount of time because just had open heart surgery. And we had came back from one of the therapy sessions, I believe, one of the just terrible therapy sessions. And he runs out the house, grabs his keys, hops in the car. It's funny because I remember it. And for people that have had heart surgery, they give you a heart pillow. And I remember looking out the window, and all I see is him with the pillow right here and him driving away. And I'm looking out the window like, Lord have mercy. So of course, like I'm telling my mom, I'm telling his mom, I'm like, this man just left. He ain't supposed to be driving. Everybody's like, what is he doing? And then I end up having to call his doctor because I'm like, I'm telling his doctor like, hey, I'm his wife. I'm the one that sees him the most. I'm the one that's laying next to this man every night. When the kids ain't at the house, I'm here 24/7 because I wasn't working. I was a full-time entrepreneur. So it was me and him most of the time. And I told him what happened, and he was like, well, yeah, he's not supposed to do that. And I was like, yeah, honestly, I was like, he needs some help. He needs some medication. He needs something because he was literally like acting like he had lost his mind. So let's get into another funny story. So this was one of, I don't even know what we were arguing about. It was something, he woke up angry. That was the norm around there. He would wake up angry. And then sometimes he would wake up loving too, but on this particular day, he woke up angry. And we got into an argument of, I don't even remember about what, but we're in this argument. And because he was, I think he was like back, this was when he went back to, I want you to get out because, it didn't matter what day of the week it was. One day he wanted me to stay. One day he wanted me to go, didn't know what I was going to wake up to. This day he wanted me to go. So he wanted me to go so bad that he took, mind you, this is his mattress. This is after his surgery too. He ain't supposed to be doing no heavy lifting and nothing like that for like 6 months to a year, something like that, some long period of time. He takes his king size mattress, y'all, and takes it out the bedroom, takes it down the stairs, pulls it out to the end of the curb because he's going to get rid of his bed to be spiteful to me. Then this is the best part. This is the best part, y'all. I'm so glad I can laugh about this stuff now. I mean, I laugh then, but I laugh now. Y'all, the best part is after he does this, I'm sitting upstairs. I'm still in the room. I'm taking pictures and I'm sending them like, y'all, this man done took the bed out the room because it was literally always something. I was texting my mom and my best friend literally every day with something new. He storms back upstairs and he's mad because he ain't got nowhere to sit down because he threw his bed out. Here's another part of the circus. There were some oven mitts in the kitchen and he was looking for the oven mitts. And I think because I didn't put them exactly back in the drawer or the same drawer, something like that, he lost it because of the oven mitts. Here's another one. Before his surgery, because he had this chain, he gave me this chain to put on before he went into surgery because he can't wear it. So he gave it to me to wear. Then I'm still wearing it after the surgery. One day he comes up and looks at me. He's like, you stole my chain. I'm like, you gave it to me and told me to wear it. And one day we were texting. I forget what we were texting about, but he says to me, he was like, you are a terrorist and I don't communicate with terrorists. I'm like, I'm your wife. Not really sure where the terrorist part came from. Then one day, because he always accused me of staring at him, and I'm not even the staring type. I'm from New Jersey. We don't stare at people. We get an attitude when people stare at us. So I'm like, not staring at you, but he looked at me and he said, stop staring at me. You're either going to get this meat or you're going to get this heat. Something else he did to be spiteful to me, like, the little heart pillow that had everybody signed it. The place where I signed it, he scribbled my name out to be spiteful. Then there was always the, doing things and specifically not including me, not inviting me, just going out and doing whatever and not including me, but then wanting to come home and wanting to cuddle with me, wanting to make love to me, wanting to do all these things. Then there was the whole, he wanted a baby, then he didn't want a baby, but he wasn't acting like he didn't want a baby. Then he went and got a pregnancy test because he was hoping that I was pregnant. I mean, baby, it was a circus and I'm not done. I'm not done because now we also need to get into not the ex-wife. The exes. The exes. There was one in particular that to this day, God's grace be with her. Lord have your mercy, because I was gone if I ever ran into her. Because at this point, I'm also curious because I'm like, something's off. So now I'm becoming a detective. One day I was going through I forget what I was going through, something of his, and I find this piece of paper that was wrapped up, and I opened it up, and to my surprise, it was a letter from his most recent ex-girlfriend. Next part. All right, welcome back to Why in the World Didn't You Have the Common Sense, the Discernment? Why didn't you listen to God? Child, welcome back. Well, just welcome back. I think this is part 9. In the last part, I was saying I was just fed up. I had to go back and listen to some more recordings to make sure I'm not leaving nothing out because it was a lot going on. And I did leave something out, y'all. I have to add to the circus. So this particular day, he had posted something about me on his social media page. He had like blocked me and my family at one point, but y'all know how that go. There's always a way. There's always a way. The girls, they get it, and some of the guys do too. But we saw it, and it started an argument because he was being disrespectful. I forget to who. It was most likely to me, but I think he mentioned like my mom, or he's mentioned somebody else in the post. Nonetheless, we get into an argument, and we're in the middle of the argument, and because at this point I had went from not really reacting to his abuse to now I'm reacting. I was activated, okay, and we're arguing. And in the middle of the argument, he starts playing the song. The song they be like, F you, F you, F you. And I'm listening to this recording like this man really pulled out his phone to play this song in the middle of the argument. And then I looked at a recording that was like a couple days later where he was calling me. And at this point, I'm recording everything. He's calling me like, man, let's just talk. How was your day? How you doing? You good? Chaos. But nonetheless, at this point, there was something else on social media. But before we get to that, because that actually goes further down the line, what happened on social media with that, I'm fed up, right? So now I'm at the point where I've reached the end mark, and I like basically tell him, in order for me to stay in this marriage, this is what I require. This is what we need to do. We need to go to counseling. This is what I want to go to counseling with. This is what you need to do. Da, 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 da. Like I had finally put my foot down. Okay. I can actually tell you exactly what I said. I said, I put up with enough of your behaviors. I'm not happy and you don't care, and I deserve better. I deserve the man that you presented to me. You gave me the representative, but you've actually always been toxic. I said, you need to heal. I've tried to see you for who I believed you were, but no more. I'm not making any more excuses or compromises. Your screwed up perspective is bogus, and the fact that you can't take ownership for this marriage is above me. Either you do what it takes to be the man you introduced me to, or we can part ways. I'm young, driven, beautiful, and deserve what you told me you was gonna give me. I said, you're abusive mentally, verbally, emotionally. I said, I don't know who you are. I'm done trying. I've done everything that I can. You've barely met me halfway. I don't want, nor do I deserve this. And this is where I'm at. If you want to salvage this marriage, it's on you. You fight for it now, because I'm not. I've done all the fighting, mostly by myself, and that wasn't what I was promised. You never deserved me based on this piss poor treatment that you have been showing. I'm not trying anymore. I'm trying to heal from the hurt that you caused me, and I'm not allowing you to add any more to my life. What I'm requiring for reconciliation. A counselor. I'm not budging on this. I wanted a public apology for the public embarrassment. And all the slander and the lies. I also wanted him to take his medication, because he had medication that he refused to take. Praying daily, fasting often, Bible study, respect. The fact that I even had to ask for some of these things, I'm just looking back like, girl. But anywho, I said, and if that isn't doable for you, that's fine. I'm not accepting anything less. Do with this as you please. You can't emotionally bother me anymore. My heart is removed. And when he saw that I was serious, and he knew he had lost his control over me and the situation. Oh, he spiraled. I mean, then he moved out. I think he was like renting a room somewhere. It was crazy. He was renting a room somewhere. I forgot what that part was, but he would keep coming back and forth to the house. And then some days he would come back to the house and he'd be nice. And some days he would come back to the house and he wouldn't be nice. It was just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you here? And then it would still confuse me because when he would come back, he'd be like, he came back one time and was like, I don't know what I'm doing, man. Like, I love you. Da, da, da. I forgot exactly what he said, but he basically was like, he wanted to be there. And then it would switch again. But, as you can see, it was hot and cold all the time. And then I remember I was like, you know what, Jennifer? I was like, nope, he moved out. He made up his decision. And you put your foot down. You're not standing for that either. So I went ahead and emailed his attorney because at this point he had got his attorney involved, and thank God he did. I emailed the attorney. I said, hey, if he's wanting to not be with me and he's left the house, could you please tell him to stop coming here? And she knew he wasn't supposed to be coming back forth either. So then that was that. And then, he went on with court proceedings to get me removed from the house, which was fine. And I know a lot of people are like, well, why you ain't just leave? I was married. I was fighting for my marriage. It was my first time being married. I wanted to try to at least try. Okay. I'm thankful I didn't stay for 7 years. I ended up staying for 7 months. Give me a break. Okay. But anywho, this was then some more social media stuff went on. And this time it involved the ex-wife again. And it was to the point where, I pull up to my house after work. Something was said on social media, and then I forget who said what, but nonetheless, it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't nice. It was, they were trash talking. We were trash talking. And when my family and friends get on the internet saying what they want to say, my people ain't got no filter. Like, I'm a bit more filtered now. No filter. And they gonna hit you where it hurt. So she saw whatever was said about her, and I pull up to my home when I get back from work because by this time I had to start working again, because I was like, okay, I'm done. So then also a part of what my therapist was working with me on was rebuilding my life. So I had to get another car because I totaled my car, and I needed to get a job. I hadn't worked a 9 to 5 in like 7 years. My best friend, my dog, hooked me up with a job. It was not a job that it was pretty at all, but I needed to start making money, and I needed to start making money fast. So I humbled myself and was like, look, whatever's going start me from moving from the bottom back up, I'm with it. So I'm working, and I pull into my driveway, and I'm like, okay. And I walk in my house, and it's my husband and his ex-wife sitting in our living room. So I'm like, here we go. So basically what I'm getting, because I recorded this conversation too, but it's an hour and 20 minutes long. So I'm going to skip through it and just kind of like figure out what was going on. Basically, something was said. My best friend said something about her. She got mad about it, and she tried to be big dog in this conversation. And I'm like, if my best friend was sitting here right now, you wouldn't be saying none of that. Probably wouldn't even have no teeth in your mouth. You know what I'm saying? But this was then. It's not now, but you know how people are. But that's the gist, I think, of how this conversation going. And then was another girl that was involved. This was like their mutual friend. Well, actually, I see her pretty often now. But back then, it was only God that I didn't run into some people back then. But back then, after this conversation, because she wasn't present for the conversation, she was on the phone. This was a good conversation. I really wish I could play. But anywho, it gets to the point where I don't even know why we started talking about him and I, but he's trying to like be big dog, I guess, in front of her. But baby, at this point, because I'm listening to myself, baby, I had it. I was done. I had receipts. I had everything. I was like, look, this is what you said. And I said, you here. He was like, I said, I'm going to leave. Okay, well, if you're going to leave, leave. And he was like, well, you say that now, but then you say you want your marriage. I do want my marriage. But every time you throw out that you're going to leave, you think that's supposed to scare me. And it didn't scare me no more. At this point, I'm like, well, shoot, leave. Basically, that conversation ended positively between she and I, not with the other person, but that ended fruitful. But it was something else that I just thought about. All right, I'm exhausted. So I am going to take a break to make sure I'm still telling the story in order. There's more to tell, and I will see y'all when I come back. Maybe later tonight, maybe tomorrow. I don't know, but listening to these recordings, well, some of them are funny. Some of them are like, oh, Lord have mercy. I can't believe you went through all of that. And then some of them are very enlightening because I've come across some prophetic words too that I'm listening to and I'm like, wow, like God, you really did what you said you was going to do in that season. So stay tuned.
How do y'all feel about the ex-wife right now in this story time? Do y'all feel like she just overstepping? I thought she said this woman was married. I just don't understand why. Okay, I get it, co-parenting, they doing it right in that aspect, but this is why a lot of people be looking at that shit like, man, y'all too friendly. Because what do you mean, y'all both, we going through something right now. We're going through a divorce, very serious stuff. And you thought it was smart to not only bring someone into our home to sit here and talk to me about it, but you go get your ex, the one who was feeling entitled from the very beginning. That's almost like, dang, was you trying to fix this marriage or make it worse? Because I don't see how that would have made it. You could have got anybody else. You could have brought your mother. That's already annoying when you go get your parents involved. It's like, dang, can you let's go get a counselor. Let's be grown, about these type of things. But okay, go get your mommy. But you bring in your wife, your ex-wife, I'm sorry, that's write that down. Don't do that ever. That is probably the stupidest shit you can do in a situation. I'm taking notes because one day we're gonna be older too, and I don't know where you get to in life where you just start doing shit like that, and it's just like,
And
yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm unchecked.
And this is exactly why the ex-wife feel like she has one up on her. He's probably running back telling the ex-wife everything that's going on. So
Allegedly.
while the wife is in the dark, the ex-wife know everything. Everything that she about to, when y'all argue, she about to throw all that out there. You can be like, how did she know? What's the common denominator? But
Yeah,
I
for
also
real.
want to add, she talks about, some days he wakes up and wants to be beside her, some days he doesn't. That's why I feel like he wanted a long distance relationship in the beginning. You never really
Right.
truly know somebody until you wake up with them every day, spend every moment of the day with them. It was
Hmm.
different when you were long distance, but now she's an entrepreneur, so she was in the house 24/7. Someone cannot keep up that facade for too long.
Yeah.
Eventually, their true self will seep through.
See, what my take on that one is that I feel as though he only married her because he thought he was about to die from that heart surgery. That's what I was taking from it too. I was thinking like, man, he only married her. I knew it was something corrupt about it, and he figured out that, oh, I'm not only not going to die, I'm living. He's getting stronger, and then you start to realize like, oh well, now I changed my mind,
Yeah.
which is messed up because she came in it with her intentions as well. It's like, oh, I've been engaged for what 7 years in the last relationship, and now I got a man who finally want to marry me. So he's using that eagerness against her, but at the same time, he was only using it against her for that moment of when he thought he was gonna die, based off what I'm getting from this story time. But what do y'all think? Yeah, what are y'all thoughts, or what's y'all take on that part specifically?
I also want to add their relationship is just like when a child gets a new toy, they're begging for that toy. They want it. And then when they finally get it, they like break it or just stop playing with it. It's kind of like how he is in this relationship. He fought so hard in the beginning. Oh, I'm going to do this. I want to be married. These are everything I'm going to do. And then finally, when I got you exactly where I want you, I'm going to just throw you away like you trash.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway from that part is don't make decisions that's so life changing in low points in your life. If somebody's going through something, he's at a low point in his life, do not marry him at the lowest point of his life mentally. Mentally. I'm not saying financially, I'm saying mentally. Do not marry him in the lowest times in his life. He gonna have to just get through that surgery. Let's see if you make it through the surgery first, bro. I don't even know if I want this damn house, if I'm being real with you. I don't want to inherit debt. You know what I'm saying? Y'all act like this is a beautiful thing. You get the house when he died. Yeah, you get the mortgage and the property taxes and insurance and all that. So it's like, is it really a gift or a responsibility? So I would have waited personally. I don't know. But love does things. Love is a drug. Okay. Be careful out there, y'all.
Welcome back. We on part 8 of Welcome to the Ghetto. I want you to note something because I did a lot of research after I went through this ordeal and I became very knowledgeable in these toxic personality traits and things. One thing to know is that they tend to go for women that are similar. And there were 3 women that he had dealt with before me that I promise you, if I was able to put their pictures on here, you would be like, they look like triplets. And that was one of them. So the first one that I'm going to talk about, one of the triplets This was his most recent ex. And in the letter, I'm not going to disclose everything from the letter. One, because I don't remember it all, and two, because some of it was personal. It was a very heartfelt letter of her basically expressing to him that you are a liar and that he had her thinking one thing when he was over here fully pursuing me, and not only pursuing me, but had already went on and married me. And she had to find that out through the grapevine, right? And she had experienced some things and all of this stuff. But I particularly paid attention to a date of the time that she said they had last slept together. They had last slept together 3 days after he asked me to be his girlfriend. And after reading this letter and reading some of the things that she had put in that letter, I said, you can't keep blaming this on the surgery, Jennifer. This is who he is. So my eyes are starting to open up. Then there was another one, and I found her on, I think it was Twitter. And I forget exactly how we first had a conversation, but she was nasty. I mean, the girl was just nasty. She had bad attitude. She antagonized me for probably about a year or some change on Twitter. About my situation, but nonetheless, I found out about her. He was messing with her while he was with the other ex, and I don't even think she know that he was messing with her when they was together. But she basically was subliminally messaging me, but every subliminal she was like sharing the secrets that she wanted me to know, which was what I wanted her to do anyway, because I'm like, I'm trying to piece together a puzzle here, girl. Like, what? I wanted to just get on the phone with her and have a conversation, but she wouldn't do it. I'm like, okay, well, she kept putting the things out there, antagonizing me, but she was just making it clearer to me what was really going on and the type of person that I was dealing with. And then the third one, I didn't really find out too much about her. I didn't really need to know too much. But just the way that she looked to confirm, like literally they had the same shape face, same complexion, all the things. But it was just like, oh, okay, so you have a type. But then I was looking at myself and the ex-wife, and I'm like, she and I are more similar. I'm like, so you have a marrying type, but you have a sneak around on the side type too. It was weird. And while we're on the exes, there was another thing that the ex-wife, oh, this is what started going on with the ex-wife. They started like talking on the phone like every day. Like I'm sitting in the bed with him and he's sitting on the phone with his ex-wife, or he's downstairs on the phone with his ex-wife. And I'm like, she's married and you're married to me, but y'all on the phone all the time? And her husband had a conversation with me outside, like way back in the beginning, and was like, hey, I know the dynamics are weird. They were weird for me too, but it's all good. Like, just chill. So I'm like, okay, well, if he's saying it's okay, then it's okay. It wasn't okay. Because she one day says to me in a conversation, because she and I had a couple conversations soon, she was like, well, you do know me and so-and-so are like best friends. Confusion. Because I'm his wife, you're his ex-wife, but you're his best friend. What? I was like, what in the triangulation is going on here? Because that's not God's order. That's not God's, like, I'm sorry. I'm not calling my ex-husband my best friend and I'm married to somebody else. That's disrespectful. Like, you just don't do that. When you marry somebody, that's your best friend. Y'all become one. Like, that person is above all. But this also, just goes to show how toxic this blended family situation was at the time. Okay, so at this point, I think this is where, I had been in therapy for a while and it's like things had gone awry. Like I had went out one evening, I had way too much to drink. I was stressed out in that situation, ended up hitting some like this like curb thing and totaling my car. Thankfully I was okay, but I was inebriated. I got arrested and then after that, I got arrested, and then I went to jail. Well, of course, but when I woke up that next morning, like my family's all like, are you good? What's going on? Are you okay? I'm showing my mom like that I'm okay. He didn't put his hands on me and nothing like that. Like I got into the accident, I'm just kind of broke down because I was like, okay, now things have gotten real. Like Jennifer, this situation is out of control. You don't have control of the situation. You barely have control of yourself. You are emotionally drained. You are mentally stressed out. You are financially tapped. I remember there was a point in time my cell phone was turned off and my homeboy was like, yo, he hit me up on Instagram, was like, yo, I've been trying to hit you. And I was like, yeah, I was like, my phone is off. I can't pay the bill. He immediately sent me the money to get my phone turned back on. Like I was down. When I say I was down bad, baby, I was down bad. Now, I didn't think this story was going to get me upset because it's really funny. But when, you know, I look back at the situation and just where, like how bad things got, or how God still had his hand on me, I just can't help but be grateful, right? So at this point, I had wrote him like a letter, and I just was kind of like trying to remind him of the man that he said I was. And I just was like, you know, the man that pursued me never yelled at me. He honored me publicly, because I mean, there was internet shaming. He would talk about me like a dog on his social media. It was bad. I was like, you were the man that sent me prayers. You were the man that included me in everything. You honored me. You took care of me. You covered me. Like the man that he showed me in the beginning, I'm like, I had wrote that, but it seemed like the more of my feelings and my emotions that I gave him, the worse he treated me. Now, I wasn't educated in what emotional and like mental, I didn't know that that type of abuse was called abuse, right? Like I had been through mental and emotional abuse before, but I didn't know it was abuse. And one thing I don't stand for is abuse, because I've been physically abused before, and I walked away from that relationship like out of there, right? And that's another story for time for another day too. I got a lot of story times. Point I'm making. I was talking to my therapist, and this is when I'm telling her where I'm at, and they're like, you know, because she's been in this journey with me, because I kept going. She's like, okay, now I'm scared for you. Like the things I started to tell her about him and I and what was going on, she was like, now I'm scared for you. She said, we need to create a plan for you to leave. She said, we can create 2 plans, one for you to stay and one for you to leave. And I think that was just like maybe her therapeutic way of just like giving me some type of piece of, we can make 2 plans, one you stay, one you leave, because she knew I didn't want to leave, but she knew I needed to leave. She was opening my eyes up to the abuse that I was going through. And then that's when I was like, okay, I was like, well, I said I would give it 6 months. I was like, and things are getting worse. It got to the point where I think he ended up moving out at some point. He moved out the house because, I know why I got to the point where I was finally just fed up. And we all get to that point where we're like, you know what? I done took enough of yo. And we were reaching that 6-month mark. I think it was like the 6th, 7th month mark when I finally like was like, okay, Jennifer, this is it. You know, and it was like, okay, this is it. Like um, some of you probably can relate. Like there were nights where I would go to sleep crying silently but deeply, because I didn't want him to know that I was crying, because I didn't want to make him mad, right? There were times where I shrunk myself so much in an attempt to make a man happy, or make a man love me, or to make him choose me again, because I wanted the fairy tale from the beginning again. I wanted the love bombing phase to come back. But if you know anything about these type of relationships, that phase just never comes back. Like even my best friend was like, that she didn't even recognize me, because she was like, my best friend don't stand for none of this. Like she doesn't put up with this kind of stuff. Like what is going on here? Right. There was a point where I was in the car, and she was coming to pick her son up from me, and we were in his car, and he was like yelling and screaming at me, and she saw all of that, and she had texted me afterwards, and she was like, basically she was like, nah, that ain't it. And it was in those moments, even looking back now, where it was finally starting to click for me, like, Jennifer, something's got to give. You've been fighting, but this fight got to end. So now it was time for me to lay down the law. Next video. Welcome back to the ghetto. I think this is part 10. The videos are a little out of order. Just, bear with me. Bear with me. I was really tired yesterday. But the thing that I remembered, there was a lot of things spoken from the other side, specifically things said like, well, the prayers have already gone forth. And there was a Facebook post where she said, and I cursed that family's bloodline at the root. Now, I got deliverance and I have prayed and broken covenants and all of that stuff. So it had no power. But I just want you to understand the type of people that I was dealing with. You know, we had him. He literally told me that he said a prayer to change my mind. And then even throughout the ordeal, the mom was always saying, well, the prayers have gone forth and this is going forth. And it was always these little different things. And I was getting prophetic words that somebody was working witchcraft. Now, mind you, she was a pastor. I'm not surprised. There are people in church that do witchcraft. Nonetheless, it had no power here. Still ain't got no power here. And everything that has been sent to me has been sent back, to which it has come forth. Okay.
Do y'all remember the story time we just reviewed? Like, I think it was yesterday or so. I don't know. By the time you see this video, it probably was a few days ago. But do you guys remember when the woman was talking about how in the Bible, if a person tries to use the scripture, like you can't pray to God, it's considered witchcraft when you try to pray to God to manipulate someone else's actions when God has given us free will.
Yeah, I'm surprised the mother is even telling her like the prayer has already been said. Did they come together and pray about it together to have this woman be his wife? Like what? And then the fact that the mother is in the church, so she knows exactly what she's doing. And you're still manipulating people, still not praying right. This whole family dynamic is just a mess.
Okay. But I think we're at the part now where he's moved out. He wants to get me out and we have to go to court. So we have to go to court. And I'm okay with that because my thing was like, I'll leave, but you're going to make sure I am financially comfortable to leave because you put me in the spot that I'm in and you're my husband. So guess what? I'm holding you accountable to the fact that you have to provide, protect, provide, and all those other things, even on my way out, period. So we go to court and got a black female judge. I represented myself. My best friend showed up as a surprise. Shout out to my dog, because one thing we do is we show up for each other in good, bad, or indifferent. And the judge had asked me something like, you know, well, why do you want to stay there? And I was basically like, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I ain't had the money to move. I ain't had no furniture. Like I was renting a bed and it was in his house. I was renting a bed from either Rent-A-Center or whatever. Aaron's one of them because, you know, he threw out the other bed. We were on an air bed for some other time because he threw out the bed. So I'm like, I'm not just going up and leave and you not going to help me get back on my feet. It's not working that way. I'm sorry. Not as my husband. Now, if you was just some little boyfriend or whatever, okay, I'll take that out. You my husband. So no, I want what's due to me. So the judge was like, pretty much like, why you, I was like, I want to be comfortable. Da, 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 da. I forget all the back and forth, but long story short, she told him, you need to pay for her to be able to leave. And they agreed on an amount. Well, we agreed on an amount. I was like, that's fine. Or she said the amount. I forget all the specifics because it was so long. Well, it was almost 43 or 4. I just don't remember. Period. Whatever the amount was, he said that he could have the money to his attorney and I could pick it up by the end of the day and I would have to move in a month. So I'm like, cool. That'll be my down payment or whatever I need to get into my new place, or it'll just be my money depending on where I want to go, right? So this was November or December. I think I had until like December to leave. And this also put the separation legally in place, which thank God it did. Because here in North Carolina, you have to be separated for a year before the judge will grant you a divorce. Ghetto. Hated it. But my year was during the pandemic, so we'll talk about that later and how that worked for my good. So, you know, I'm like, okay, I got the money. I was working again. I had restarted my business. So I was like, you know what, Jennifer? Leave. It's time to go. You put your foot down. You're literally walking out what you know you need to do. So, you know, packed up my stuff and all of that good stuff. And one of his homeboys at the time, he didn't want him to know, but he started communicating with me on the side because he felt like what his boy was doing was wrong. And it was. Now, his homeboy also thought I was cute, but that was neither here nor there because I wasn't interested in him like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, bruh, like this, I'm not even mentally and emotionally in a space for that. But I'll say this, he was being very nice and he felt like what his homeboy was doing was wrong. So he was trying to make sure that he could make amends in a sense, I guess, or like try to help out because at the end of the day, it was like, dang, like you doing this girl dirty. So when it was time for me to move out of his house, he actually came and helped me move. He doesn't know, he didn't know this, but he came and helped me move. And I of course I'm not going to tell him, because I'm like, thank you, because I did need somebody to help me move. So he helped me move out. And I ended up going to stay with one of my girlfriends at the time, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to go back to where I had came from, or if I wanted to stay in the state that I was in. So I was like, well, what do you want to do? So God actually showed me her in a dream, and I asked her, and she was like, yeah, that's cool. So I was like, give me like 60 days tops. So in that time period, I remember my best friend said to me, she said, regarding my ex, she said, he gonna be back. And I was like, at that time, I'm like, my emotions are all over the place. This is like the last straw for me. Cause I always told him, I said, when I leave that house, I'm not coming back. That means the marriage is done. There is no reconciliation. Like, it is over. And I meant that. And, she was like, he'll be back, but I couldn't see that. I'm like, they always come back. But my mind, I had so many emotions of just being sad, disappointed, devastated. What's my next step? So many unknowns, so much uncertainty. And I just was like, okay, okay. So, I end up staying with her. I'm still working. Y'all, no more than 30 days, probably less. Guess who comes? A texting, a calling. I think he texted me. Your boy. Talking about something, I got some mail at the house. So that makes sense. I was living there, okay, there's some mail. I'll come by and get it after work. I come by to get it after work. He hands it to me, and there's $100 bill with it. So I'm like, what's this for? And he was like, I don't know. I just feel like, I feel like you need it. So I'm just like confused. Well, thank you, because I do need it. Thank you very much. Probably for groceries, gas, whatever, I'm in a rebuilding phase. So thank you. I do need that money. But, what is that about? And he goes into this story about how he was in the shower, and how God was showing him this, and how he needs his wife, and how he was confused, and just a whole bunch of, hogwash. But let's keep in mind, during this time period that I have now been out the house, I am studying. And when I say studying, I am deep diving into these different personality types that my therapist has now revealed to me. I am studying, and I am like being enlightened. Like, the light that was off was on. And I was like, wow, I didn't know this. But that's what he was doing. That's what he was doing. That's what he was doing. And not only was he doing it to me, but he also did it to his ex-wife and some of his exes. Because, that was the other thing I wanted to tell you. And one of the things he said in one of the recordings was, because we had gotten into an argument, he was like, it was like I ain't leaving you, I ain't leaving either. And he was like, okay. He said, I was married to somebody for years and didn't want to be married to him. And I was like, so you're used to this. You're used to this. And then I'm listening to conversations that I had with his ex-wife, and I was like, oh, I'm putting one and two together, and I'm like, you put her through the ringer too. I understand now. The math is math in here. And even I forget what it was that I learned in this behavior, but that's something that they'll do. They'll keep you in a relationship as long as you'll stay, and keep you in that cycle. They get a kick out of it. So when he said that, I was like, oh, you've been crazy. But anywho, so he comes back. He's like, trying to be nice. I need my wife, blah, blah, blah. I forget everything that he said, but I just was kind of like, and I'm not going to lie. One part of me was just like, wow, maybe there is a chance for reconciliation. Because again, I'm married, right? Like, I am first submitted to God, and I did not want to disappoint God. And then two, I'm like, this is my first marriage. I look at marriage differently than just like, you my little boyfriend, you know what I'm saying? Or somebody I'm kicking it with. So I'm like, well, I'm looking at it from both perspectives, but I'm also like, Jennifer, you're learning all of this stuff. You knew he was going to come back. That was one of the things I was learning too. You knew he was going to come back. You knew he was going to be hoovering, or he was going to have a tactic. And they say that they always come back with the way that they tried to get you. And the way that he tried to get me was with what, y'all? Money. Showering me with the gifts, showering me with the cash apps, sending me on first class flights. Whatever I wanted, I got. That's how he started off in the beginning. So I said, oh, this is the cycle starting all over again. Next part. Welcome back to part 11. Get my life back. And part of getting my life back, I went on a journey. And I'll touch on a lot of that later, but I went on a journey of like healing, deliverance, prayer, therapy, etc. And I produced an amazing product called Pressure Lessons in Love versus Toxicity. It can be found on Amazon. So you can just go on Amazon and put in Pressure Lessons in Love versus Toxicity. Shout out to my girl Jessica who made the cover for me. And my name is Jennifer Mason. So if you want a copy and you want to learn like my full process of how I learned to date again, how I healed, all the different steps, and some more of the story that I'm telling you right now, but it's on chapter 4, you can grab this book off of Amazon. But anywho, back to the story. So I'm like, yeah, you know what's going to happen. Now I got the playbook. Now I have the playbook because I've been doing my research. I have been watching TikToks. I have been watching YouTube videos. Like one of my things that I did in the morning was I listened to videos about narcissistic abuse, YouTube videos, when I was in the shower while I was getting dressed. Because I was like, I was trying to understand what happened. When you come out of those types of situations, you're still very foggy. You're still very just like, what in the world just happened, right? So the education piece for me was healing. I was like, okay, this makes sense. But now I had the playbook. So I'm like, then came the flowers at work and wanted to take me to dinner. And I did go to dinner with him a couple times. What else? Let me look at my book so I can remind myself. The money, sending me more money, helping me with stuff. Like now he was back to the guy that he introduced me to, right? And this is why I said I don't believe that it was just the surgery. I believe it was just surgery. He's back to the guy that he introduced me to. But it wasn't until I finally left. Or he got me put out. I don't care how he want to word it. I was gone. But anywho, so I was like, I'm going to watch and I'm going to pray. I'm going to watch and I'm going to pray and I'm going to see how this plays out. Because, I'm still slightly optimistic because I'm just an optimistic person. If you know me in real life, I see both sides of everything. So, but I said, let me watch and let me pray. And in this time period, I'm rebuilding my life. I'm getting my money back up. My best friend had held me down. I was helping her and she was putting extra money in my pocket. She had found me the job. Oh, it's another part that I forgot, y'all. I don't even know where I want to put this now. I'll just insert it here. Shout out to my mama. Okay. Because when he moved out the house, y'all want to know what this man did? He turned off the electricity, turned off the water. I forget, it was something else I think he turned off. So shout out to my mother for giving me the money because I didn't have it at the time to get the electricity put my name temporarily. And then I think my mom's husband knew a guy that was able to come out and look at the water and turn the water back on for me because him and his mad, spiteful self had these things turned off knowing I'm still in the house. Knowing I'm still in the house, but you are my husband. But this is also the same man that we're talking about now, trying to get me back. But I had to make sure I put that in there. But again, I'm getting my life back on track. My money's getting up, I'm rebuilding. So I said, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to pray. And I watched it, I think maybe over a period of maybe 3 months. I watched. And I think we got to April. And by April, I had moved. I was staying in a townhouse. And let me think about this for a second because I want to make sure I remember. I'm back. We were having a text message conversation. And because I always said, I said, if he's really this person and it wasn't just the surgery, it'll be consistent. I said, but if not, the mask is going to fall off again because the mask always falls back off when you're dealing with these types of individuals. So I forgot what he said in the text message, but he had said something that let me know he was back. And I texted him, I said, there he is. Been waiting on you to show up. And in that moment, I knew this divorce is going through. It is over. This is not a cycle you about to be back in, girl. I told him I didn't want to hear from him no more. I told him I wanted the divorce. And that, I believe, was the last time I spoke or even heard from him. Yep, I think that was the last of it. But rewind, because I forgot about this. Because he did have children, and the children got brought into the middle of it too. Some of them were grown, some of them were almost grown in their teens. And there was a lot of stuff that they witnessed, a lot of stuff that they had to endure because of this situation. And this was at a point of we were supposed to be reconciling. He was supposed to be apologizing to my family, and I was going to apologize to his girls. And y'all know I'm a girl's girl at the end of the day, so I'm like, I don't have no issue, talking to them. Like, they shouldn't have witnessed none of that. Granted, it was because of you, but they shouldn't have witnessed that. But I have that conversation on record too. One thing's for sure and two things for certain. I keeps me a receipt. People, and then I ain't gonna say that. People don't be wanting to keep receipts, but the receipts be coming through when you need them. Okay. So I listened to that conversation today, and he specifically admitted some things to his children because, there was so many lies put out there. I was just like, kind of like, oh, so you're going to admit to them that this is what happened. Now, he was still trying to blame it on the surgery or whatever, but he admitted, he was like, well, put yourself in her shoes. She came here with the idea that it was going to be one way, and when she got here, it wasn't that way, and yada, yada, yada. I had apologized to them. I think they, and they had some questions for me, and there were some things that needed to be cleared up because a lot went on. A lot went on. Now, I'm not going to say I was a saint throughout the whole thing, but I came in with the right intentions. I was met with a lot of opposition, and I was mature in some areas. In some areas, I was like, who you playing with? Okay. But I also should have never, by my husband, I should have never been put in any of those situations in the first place. But nonetheless, we did have that conversation, and I ain't even gonna hold you, like, his girls ride for him, and they should, because they would become, anytime I talk about this situation, I'm surprised they ain't showed up yet. Anytime I talk about this situation, they be in the comments, they be going off, and I just be like, Lord have mercy, just mind your business. You know what I'm saying? But nonetheless, like I told them then, no love lost, no love gained. It just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? They were put in a situation that they shouldn't have been in, and that really wasn't my fault. And it's crazy too, because like when I listen to the different recordings and I listen to the voice, it literally sounds like two different people. So just keep that in mind too. For those of you that may be in this kind of situation, or you might be learning from my situation, pick up these little key things so that when you are dealing with somebody and you feel like you're dealing with a Dr. Jekyll and a Mr. Hyde and you don't know who was who, pay attention to that, because that is a telling sign. But anywho, so that was that conversation, but I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this no more. In the midst of that time period, I was like, God, I was like, God, I want to find a therapist that specializes in narcissistic abuse, toxic relationships, etc. And I didn't know anybody, like, just off the top of my head or whatever, or from a Google search that did. But God is so faithful that I'm on TikTok. I was like scrolling on my For You page, and I came across Matthew Pfeiffer. I'm gonna make sure I tag him. Don't forget to tag him. But and I don't know what he does now as far as like his coaching and classes, but he has so many resources. But in that time period of my life, when I say having those one-on-one sessions with him was part of what really expedited my healing, I got to give credit where credit is due. Now, I'm a woman of prayer. I'm a woman of fasting, but I also believe in therapy too. And I think combined, all of those things is why you see the woman that you see sitting here, because that was ghetto. And then I don't know if this like ends the story. I'm pretty sure once I look through the comments, I'll probably like respond to some of the comments and it'll bring up some more things. But when it was time for me to sign my paperwork, I called his attorney and was like, hey, when's the divorce papers going to be ready? They were like, you can actually come by this afternoon, because I was counting the days, okay? I was counting the days. I was like, okay, I'll be there. Went on my lunch break, signed them things. When I looked at the actual like final day that I was divorced, it was the last day of December in 2020. And baby, I went into 2021 a free woman. Hallelujah. And I didn't see him again until maybe 3 years later. Like, I didn't hear from him, and it was nothing for him to say to me. But I hadn't like ran into him in town or anywhere until like 3 years later. And baby, when I felt like I saw a ghost, I felt like I saw a ghost. Next part. Part 12. I finally see him after about 3 years since the divorce. So I'm living my good life. Life has moved on. Life has been grand. God has been good. You know what I'm saying? I'm just living my life. And every Thursday, I had this spot that I would go to that I hang out at. And it wasn't a coincidence to me that I had started seeing people that he knew start to frequent this same spot. So I was just like, all right, well, I don't care if they come in here, but I hope he don't come up here. But I am thoroughly convinced that somebody told him that I'd be up there, because one good Thursday, he walked in. And not just walked in, but walked in and like was on the left side of me. I'm sitting at the bar, minding my business, and I look and I'm like, I felt like I saw a ghost. I was like, I don't know what what was going on. I'm just sitting there like in shock. You know what I'm saying? Because I haven't seen you, like didn't want to see you, haven't seen you, didn't plan on seeing you. So I'm sitting there, and while I'm sitting there, what I'm realizing is that there was another level of forgiveness that needed to happen. For sure. For sure. Because when you forgive somebody, you just be like, okay, whatever. And you don't see them, and you don't have to be bothered with them in any capacity. We didn't have no kids together. We didn't bump into each other. We didn't go to the same church, nothing. It's out of sight, out of mind. But baby, when I left that evening, I was like, oh, I need to forgive him some more, because I needed to forgive him some more, because I could have just off GP, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, that was the first time I had seen him since God knows when, and it was not pleasant. And I'm gonna just leave it at that, because I don't want to say nothing mean, but it confirms some things that I had already thought was going on. But yeah. And for my healing girlies, you get it. Like you don't really know how much you've recovered or what feelings are still there until you have to be faced with the thing that you actually, had to heal from. So what I did was, I remember I was actually dating somebody at the time, and I called them and told them what happened. And thank you to him, honestly, because he just let me pour out what I was feeling and what had come to the surface. And I needed that moment, because when something bubbles up, you need to let it bubble up and go out. So I was able to get it out. But what I was feeling was it just brought back all of those memories of how evil he was to me and how mean he was to me. It wasn't like I was angry. I was sad. I was I can't believe that this man was so mean to me. I couldn't, it brought it back to my memory, and I was just he was such a evil person to me, and I had did nothing but been good to him. I uprooted my life. I came here to support you through the biggest surgery you've ever had in your entire life. I married you. I stood by you, and that's how you treated me. Those were the feelings that I felt. I was I just couldn't believe it. But I re-released him. God, I forgive him. Because the Bible says, forgive them, bless your enemies, all of that good stuff. So I just forgave him and let it go. But I also am thankful for that moment, because I wouldn't have known what was still kind of hidden, that still needed to be healed and needed to be revealed and be uprooted up out of me, because I don't want to take any baggage of that into my next marriage, right? Because I'm going to be married again. And it's going to be a good marriage. And he's going to be fine. I'm going to be attracted to him. All the things are going to line up. He's going to love me like Christ loved the church. And I ain't even tripping off that. But I don't want to bring none of that type of baggage with me. So I was able to release that. And that's done and that's dealt with. But there was something else that I wanted to bring up. For people that have gone through this, there was another aha moment for me. And this was through me learning all the things that I had been learning through, YouTube, books, therapy. When I wasn't in therapy yet, but I remember sitting at my desk, and this is when the cloud lifted. Now, if you've ever been in a toxic relationship and you got out of it and you finally had your aha moment, you understand what I'm about to say. I was sitting at my desk at work, and I just was overcome with emotion, and I was like, I can't believe I went through that. I can't believe that really just happened to me, because when you're in it, you don't really see it for what it is. Everybody on the outside could see it for what it was, and was kind of confused, because they Jennifer, you know what I'm saying? But for me, while you're in it, you are mentally in a war zone. You're in a different place. But when that cloud finally lifted from me, and this was shortly after I had gotten deliverance. So get that deliverance. Okay. I had gotten deliverance, and I was just I can't believe I went through all this. I don't know who I text. I think it was my mom. And I was just sitting there and I was bawling, crying because I was like, just upset. And then I was also upset with myself because I was like, Jennifer, how did you let somebody do this to you? And granted, it was not for that long, but it was long enough for me to be disappointed in myself. So I say that to say, when the cloud lifts off of you and you finally come back to yourself, or when you're coming back to yourself, forgive yourself, because when you're going through that type of psychological, and for me, it was psychological warfare, mental, emotional, spiritual. When you're under something that heavy, you're not yourself. You are not the person that you were before you met that person. You have turned probably into somebody that is a bit more passive, someone who is shrinking themselves, someone who is not as confident, someone who is dumbing yourself down. You're suppressing your emotions. Like, you're going through all of this stuff. Like, realize that it wasn't really you. It wasn't really you. And as you're finding your way back to yourself, you're finding your way back home to yourself, forgive yourself and be like, you know what? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have put up with that. And take every lesson and let that lesson be the building block to it never happening again. And baby, when I say I can spot toxicity, like I could sniff you out. Now I'm like, I thank God for that opportunity for a couple reasons. Because one, it ain't going to happen ever again. Two, any man that's tried to pursue me since then, if they had even a smidge of that type of toxicity, I've been able to see it from the beginning and I trusted it. And what's my third one? And three, the amount of women I have been able to inspire, teach, help heal, educate. I mean, the amount of women, and I'm talking about thousands of women have bought this book. Thousands of women have come to me for coaching. Thousands of women follow me on social media, primarily on Instagram, same handle, Single Lady Notes. And thousands of women are now either not going to experience this, be able to spot it sooner, and thousands of women are going to be able to miss this mishap or heal from it, because I decided to open my mouth and say something, because I didn't decide to wallow in shame and say, well, I'm embarrassed because this happened to me. How are you supposed to be a expert in this area and this happened to you? And I always remember when I first started telling my stories online and I saw the response. This is in 2014, I think. And God told me, he was like, your story, your testimony is the key to women's prisons. And I said, you know what? From that day forth, I will never be silent again. So for anybody that comes across this video today, a year from now, whenever, if you are sitting in that place of silence and you're sitting in that place of trying to figure it out and you need help, I got you. You. If you're somebody and you know that you need to tell your testimony, you need to get your story out, but you're scared of the backlash, scared of what somebody's going to say, scared of all of these other things, guess what? Let me be living proof to you.
Wow, that was a pretty strong testimony towards the end of this story time. If you've made it all the way to the end, we do appreciate you all. This was Wiley. This has been a while. We usually don't post this in the beginning when we first started Messy Stories. I used to post a lot of 2 hour, 3 hour type of story times, but we've really been trying to stay within that hour mark because these are very long. But when it's this good, I don't want to rob you guys because I know a lot of you all actually love those long story times. So we're going to keep bringing it to you. But what are y'all thoughts when it comes to this story time? I think it's just really, at the end of the day, it just seems like one person was trying more than the other, if you could say. It's just a lack of communication. I feel like if they could have fixed the communication barrier, and then a lot of empty promises, making a lot of empty promises to get people to marry you or be with you, that was probably one of her biggest like icks in this whole situation. If he could have fixed that in the communication, meaning like overall communication between him and his ex-wife, understanding that this is my wife and you got to respect her no matter what boundaries you and your ex-wife have set up. It's time to break those down because now you have a wife. It's different when you just got girlfriends coming in and out. Y'all know this. We adults. But when you marry somebody, you got to take that as a covenant. It's not that you just bringing it. It's not just a marriage between you and your wife. It's a marriage between you, your wife, and God. So now you're not just disrespecting your wife. You're disrespecting God when you are allowing another person to infiltrate your covenant. All right. Now, That's all I got to say on that. But I understand exactly where she's coming from. And heck, if you don't learn nothing, man, if you made it to the end, don't piss off the wrong woman, man, because she could sit behind that screen for 2 hours and just air out everything she know about you. So be careful out there.
Yeah, thank God that she made it out of this. And not only did she come out even better, but she's able to tell her story and inspire other women to finally make that move to move on from the toxicity. And also just warning females in general of the red flags so you don't be involved and have to go through something like this. Everything
Yeah.
happens for a reason.
Yep. So you got anything else?
No, no, go ahead.
Okay, cool. You sure? All right. All right. Well, if you guys are interested in following this creator, I will have her linked in the description box below. A lot of you probably already know who she is. But if you are interested and you don't know who she is, we will have her credit in the description box as usual. Y'all can follow her directly on her TikTok account. I hope you all are having a great day, and we will see you all in the next story time. Y'all enjoy y'all Saturday, all right? It's Saturday. Have a good day, all right? Let's not let nothing ruin our day today. We got this out early so you guys can enjoy the rest of the day.